proven to be good people of the American fabric who actually love and want to be here and build the society. And they had to have a job. They had to have all of these things that said, hey, you're worthy to come in. But when I look at people skipping across the border, sneaking in, I have no... First of all, the law says you can't do that. And second of all, it's not supposed to be. So his primary introduction to me, based on that alone, I thought to myself, we absolutely have to focus on the American people that are here legally, turn that ship around so that we can get this money back into our own economy and build our own people. And this has never been said. I've never heard it uttered anywhere else. But when people say that is a racist thing to say, I would argue that the people who say that are un-American. And the reason being is that they would rather fight and talk about how the illegal immigrant is just trying to be a good person in the United States as opposed to the American people taking care of its own in a way that supports people that are legally working here and doing it the right way. So that was my introduction into him. And amongst many other things that he said along the way that I look at and go, yeah, it's about time someone draws the line and says, stop the bleeding, and let's take a look at who we have here and start putting back into our own people.
Now, as far as all that goes, I'm gonna be kind of playing devil's advocate here, because we gotta have a good
foil.
Yeah, good guy, bad guy kind of thing going on here, just because that's how these things are done. So I'm going to put you on the spot a couple times here, and
please,
we're talking about policy, and we got all that kind of stuff going. A lot of the good qualities for somebody who's supposed to be a president of the United States, who's supposed to be a leader and everything. There's supposed to be a lot of moral qualities as far as what kind of a person they're supposed to be. Now, let's go through some of the things that have been kind of controversial as far as Mr. Trump goes. Like, we'll go with the biggest one right now, the old remark, and I have my own particular feelings about it, but for the purposes of our little exercise here, I'm just going to, like I said, devil's advocate. His remark about grabbing women inappropriately. Stuff like that. When you hear things like that were said in private, and of course, people say different things in the heat of the moment, whatever. But when you think about that, and then you look at basic different histories of how a person has acted, how does that reflect on how you feel about you and your vote?
Well, that's okay. That's a good and fair enough question.
I got to start right into the jugular. We got to go hit with the hard ones first.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Okay, so his defense of that was it was locker room talk, and my wife, she actually really does not like that at all, and she would argue that is just unacceptable, not right. And the fact of the matter is, it is unacceptable talk in public, and nobody ever, no man, nobody wants to ever have that publicized or brought out. And it is awful when it's brought out into the public light like that, and unacceptable. But by the same token, 11 years ago when he said that, he wasn't even running for anything. He was just a guy with a lot of dough, and he was in the van, and he was talking to Billy Bush, and he was two guys talking. And number two, it is how guys talk. I don't know. It is how men talk, but usually guys, when they talk like that amongst themselves, the reason they do that in private by themselves is because they ain't going to judge each other. They're not judging each other, and it is sort of silly because you would never say that in public, especially in front of women, because it's repulsive. And do I think he would do it again? I doubt it. I would certainly hope not. I hope that he learned his lesson, that in this stage of his life. As a president, you never say that. And, it's an embarrassment because it's something he got his pants pulled down on. Will I defend it? No way. No, I won't. But by the same token, you have to understand, men and women try to attract each other, and they speak a certain way. They have certain ways about them that they're programmed for. And that's guys. And he got caught for it. And it's ugly out in public. And even I don't support that. So when he got popped for that, that was probably the worst I'd felt about his candidacy through the entire process. And I remember the weekend, it wasn't too long ago, and it felt devastating to me for about 2 days because he was just about ready to walk into, I think, the second debate or something like that. And I just thought, man, is he going to be able to pull himself out of that? They just have him completely cornered on that. And I think he recovered nicely. I think he did a fine job coming out of that. I would hope he learns his lesson. I would hope he never says that stuff again and realizes that no matter what he does from now on, when he becomes president, the mic and the camera is on. Shut up about that.
Now,
yeah.
As far as that kind of goes, do you feel we're talking about the way that like, I agree a little bit on how a lot of things are said between two men and between two women and different things in private situations when they're just hanging out. Like, men and women will talk about different physical aspects of the opposite sex or the same sex. I mean, it's a big world out there right now. But they'll discuss these things in private. They'll say crude things, men and women both. It's kind of how humans are. People joke about things, and maybe we shouldn't do that ever, but that's kind of what happens. So we're not going to get into too deep into that kind of thing. But
let me ask you just one question, Spider. Have you ever heard guys talk like that in any arena in your life? Have you and your buddies, or have you ever heard guys talk like that before?
Well, I went to public school. And when you go to public school, especially in public high school, you hear a lot of things, and you hear a lot of things from both sides. And a lot of it is just, it's not serious, it's not joking. Yeah. And, no, it's not appropriate. Of course it's not. And nobody ever said it was. But, it's just what happens. People are people, and they're going to talk these kind of things, unfortunately. And we don't think much of it because it's just something that you say between a couple friends, and you're not going out acting on a lot of these things. And you could make the argument that, just because you're not acting on it doesn't mean that you won't sometime in the future. And, I would like to say that people aren't always defined necessarily by the words that they say. I feel people are more defined by what they do and what their individual actions are.
Correct. And
it's your actions that you do that really show. And me personally, I'm not a big public speaker. I mean, radio show aside, I don't talk a lot as far as what my opinions are necessarily, because a lot of that kind of stuff I feel is my private opinion. I don't like to put myself out there because they're my thoughts. They're how I feel about different things. Now we've got a lot of activity in the chat room, and they do bring up some good points.
All right, let me see. What are we looking at here? All right, hang on. All right, let's take a look. What are they saying here?
A lot of it is leaning more towards the nature of the comments rather than the comments themselves, which is another good point too, because we'll say different things in private, like. One of our chat room users, A Naughty Mouse, he or she, I don't know. I just have a little blue picture, so I don't know if you're male, female, both, whichever. If you'd like to correct me, that's cool. I'll apologize to you on air. But he or she says, have you heard a man admit to sexually assaulting a woman? It's not the same as saying Sally has a nice rack. And that's true. That is true. It's kind of something more. It was a more forceful comment as opposed to as opposed to just, talking about physical features of a person. So do you think on some level that Donald Trump it's more all show, or do you think on some level that maybe he has some of those kind of thoughts on the inside? Do you think he's on some level a bit of disrespectful in that area, and maybe has even done this kind of thing?
Yeah, has he done? I don't know.
I mean, this is all speculative.
I honestly don't know. What I would say is that let me just put it this way. The guy's pushing 70 years old. There's never been a case involving Donald Trump ever, I don't think. To my knowledge, until 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, when all 11 women rolled out on the same day just out of the blue, a completely unstaged event, by the way, where it had never happened in his life before. It seems fishy to me. And by the way, I would say that a lot of times when people are rich or when they have a lot of power, the people surrounding them are influenced by that in a great way, or in a very different way than people that don't have access to that kind of power. And it comes with it. It comes with fame. It comes with money. It comes with things that usually those people are able to lead very different kinds of lives with very different kinds of rules other than the way that the mid-class is able to. Why? It's because of what they may or may not be able to offer that person in the future or in the present, in the moment. So it's kind of like it's a play.
Okay, I have to say something. Okay, so you're saying it is okay for our president, or soon-to-be president of the United States, to be 70 years old, acting like a douchebag, telling us it's okay to touch a woman without our permission, and this is because he's rich and he's powerful and he plays a different game. You think this is okay?
That's not what I said. You can't even you can't even twist it that way. That's not what I said. What I'm saying is that people that are influenced by either fame or money behave differently around that person because they're influenced by it, thinking that they can receive something from it. Do I think that it's okay? No. I think that he actually, in this role as the president, has to play a completely different role than the Donald Trump that was a builder, because that guy could be a player. This guy has to be a diplomat, and he has to work with people, and he has to be presidential in a way that he's never done before. So do I think it's okay? No. I think whatever he was doing as a builder and his new position as the president has to be defined by two totally different acts, because he didn't plan on becoming a politician. He saw something that was broken for all of us that said every politician is getting greased. And you know what? That means every American is getting pummeled by some advertisement that the sponsors want to lead the populace into. Don't forget, Shels, this country is supposed to be led by us. We are the boss. And what's happening is that body that sits in the House and in the Congress are influenced by people that are paying them to manipulate us. And that's why his whole thing is drain the swamp. So to get back to your question, you were saying, do I think that's okay? No and hell no moving forward. How's that?
Now I'm gonna be the real tough cookie with that. Let's say for the sake of argument that we do get a Donald Trump presidency, and then let's say it ends up being, as far as like private life goes, all this stuff becomes public, and a lot of this kind of stuff happens because, oh well, now I'm the president and I can get away with this kind of stuff. What happens if that happens?
Then I would imagine if that stuff just kept coming out and it was proven, kind of like the same way that it was proven with Bill Clinton, people wouldn't take that crap either. I certainly wouldn't. To me, I would be disillusioned.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Good answer. So I think we're about due for another